All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and talk about the 7 APES verbs, AP Environmental Science verbs that you must know. These verbs are going to show up throughout your AP exam and also throughout the exams and also the assignments in this class. They're very important. Then they really matter when it comes to answering questions in my class that aren't multiple choice involved, right? And also answering free response questions on the exam, again, not multiple choice. The difference in knowing the what these verbs mean is the difference in getting the point or not. Okay, and we're going to walk through each of these verbs so you know when you see this signal verb you will know what kind of answer you need to give so you can get all the points. Okay. The first one is calculate. I gave some short little ways to remember it. Set it up, solve it out. Okay. Or set up, solve. Okay. So what are you getting a point for? You're getting a point for the correct setup. So you're showing the operations. You're showing what you did step by step. It can be in one sentence. It can be typed out in one line or multiple lines. It's up to you. Okay. We'll get into more of the nitty gritty later on, but you notice in this one, it has parentheses. So again, if you were to set this up in one line and you don't have parentheses, then it could be a problem. So if you know how it should go in a calculator, set up in one line. If you're not sure, you can go ahead and do 250 minus 200, press enter, and then put that answer divided by 200. Press enter, that answer times 100, press enter, and then 25%. But again, we're going to go over more of that later on. So how do we remember this? For calculate, set up, solve. So that's what I'm looking for on your quiz on Friday is to tell me calculate, set up, solve, and that will give you the points on the quiz. All right, so now we've got identify. Now this honestly is the easiest verb to remember and the easiest and most common verb where we get all the points always, okay? The only time I've seen students kind of struggle with this one is coming from, say, AP Lit, where you're used to writing these very long, amazing explanations. And that's not the case for this verb identify. When we say identify, we want you to name it, claim it, and stop. Okay. So identify asks for the answer only, not the story. So what to do? State or list the requested information. So we only want the answer. So identify literally means tell me the answer and stop. So that could be a one word, could be the answer, or a one sentence. For me, even though on the AP exam you do get credits for one word, I still want you to give me a complete sentence. The reason why, as readers know, sometimes when we do the one word, that's not exactly, all the answer. And so writing that complete sentence will, give us the chance to get full credit. So here's your example. Identify again. Identify. Boom. So you should know one word. One renewable energy source. The answer this example gave is solar energy is a renewable energy source. So again, on this answer, you could have just said solar energy and got the point. Okay, but just get used to writing the whole sentence. So memory tip at the bottom, keep it simple, right? Don't explain unless asked. Okay. Okay, our next verb is describe. Okay, so describe, the way to remember this one, we're going to name it, and now we're going to paint the picture. So you can think about this one. You remember identify, we just went over. Identify was just name it. Okay, just say what it is. So describe is identify plus a useful detail or an example. Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to give the answer plus provide additional information or an example. So identify plus detail. So on your quiz on Friday, when you are defining describe, I'm looking for identify plus detail. Okay. Our example, describe one effect of deforestation on soil. Here it is. The first thing we're going to do is identify. We said deforestation increases soil erosion. Okay. That was the identification. Now, because exposed soil is more easily carried away by wind or water, that is our useful detail. That then, in the useful detail, we say useful. So that detail must tie back to the identify. Okay, it must tie back. It must support it, not just any detail. Okay. All right, so here we go. Next one is propose a solution. Now, I really want you to lean in on this one. This is the most missed verb on the AP exam across the US. Okay. A lot of times, this is how students miss this one. They do not give what we call realistic solutions. Throughout this course, as we traverse the course, you're going to propose solutions so much. You're going to be a pro at it by the time we get to the end. So you will then understand what is a realistic solution. Okay. So breaking it down, what do we do for this one? We're going to fix it plus tell what the fix does. Okay. Fix it plus tell what the fix does. I'm going to skip to the bottom. This is the key part too. We want to make the solution specific enough that someone could actually do it. The actually is important. So nothing just, well, maybe, possibly, but they could truly do this. All right. What to do on the left, we said provide a solution to the problem plus describe it. So for your quiz on Friday, what am I looking for? Propose the solution, and then you can tell me that is solution plus description. Okay, solution plus description. All right. So you notice it said what to do, describe. Remember, describe is identify plus a detail. So we're looking at three levels. It's level three. We're looking at three parts to this answer. We've got to identify. There has to be the identification in there, the one word, two word answer. We have to have the example or a detail about that, and then we have to finally have the solution. So let me read our example. Propose a solution to reduce fertilizer runoff. Okay, so in the first sentence, we have plant vegetative buffer strips along waterways. Stop for a minute. In this first sentence, vegetative buffer strips is the identify. All right, the vegetative buffer strips is the identify. All right, and then what else do we have? What's our description? Okay, what's the detail? So what are we going to do? Here's the action. We're going to plant these along the waterways. Okay, then now here is our what the fix does. The second sentence: the plants slow runoff and capture nutrients before they enter the water. Okay, so this would be a complete answer, and this would get all the points. All right, for this one, now we're talking about explain. Again, explain. So really starting with propose a solution on, we start noticing we're going to have three components to these answers. Okay. So explain, what is explain? Is tell me how, tell me why. So explain is going to connect all the dots. So what to do on the left, we're going to describe. We know what describe is. We identify and we give a detail. Okay. So we're going to describe it, and we're going to show either how, why, a cause and effect, or steps. So it's your choice. But our in this case our detail is going to be more specific. It's going to be how, it's going to be why, cause, effect, or steps, not just something additional. Okay. So for your quiz on Friday, what am I looking for? Tell me explain and tell me what plus how slash why. Okay. All right, here's our example. Explain how burning fossil fuels contributes to climate change. So our answer, we've got burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide. So stop for a minute. We have first, in that first sentence, we have identified, okay? We've identified the issue and how it contributes to the climate change. But we're not done yet. We now have to tell the how and the why. So next it says increased atmospheric CO2 traps more outgoing infrared radiation, strengthening the greenhouse effect. So this is the slight difference, honestly, between maybe an honors class that you may have had, or whatever, because in APES, it's not enough just to tell me burning fossil fuels release carbon dioxide. Okay, they want to make sure that you know, how does this do this, how does this impact the climate change. So we need to break down that an increase decrease. So these kind of answers, increase decrease always works. So that's cause and effect. Or you can straight up just show with steps. But say they're asking you about a nitrogen cycle, etc., and you can just list some steps. Or it could just be a why, where you just come back to that first point that you made, and give us another additional detail that says why. Okay, so we're at verb number 6. We'll go on to I hate to say 7, please. We'll do this one first, and then we'll do the next one after. Whatever number comes after 6, we will do that one next. The great thing about these back to back, pay attention to this verb, because the next one I talk about is going to be very similar. There's only a slight difference. With this one, we're going to prove or disprove something. So it's all about a claim, which is similar to the next one. But in this case, This will most likely be asked, will be asked in a way where it's relying upon your foundational knowledge. So you will more than likely, you may not have a graph, you may not have a map or some type of visual, um, visual aid to pull from. This is straight up what you know, but you use your own knowledge as the evidence. Okay, so how do we do this one? So for Friday, I'm looking for justify slash refute, and you tell me evidence plus why it matters. So that is your mnemonic. That's what I expect you to tell me to get that point on the quiz Friday. Okay, our example: justify the claim that wetlands can improve water quality. Okay, so the first sentence, you need to make your claim. So it's just a straight up sentence that you write. It's a statement, excuse me, that you write, that is a fact. So it's either um, proving something or disproving it. Okay, so here we go. This way we're writing that's proving it. So wetlands trap sediments and absorb excess nutrients. That is your fact. That is your claim. Okay. Next sentence, we now support that claim by talking about why it matters. Okay. So this removes pollutants from water before it reaches downstream ecosystems. So memory tip at the bottom, you're going to ask yourself, that first sentence that you wrote, which is based on the knowledge that you know, which is based on your reading guides or whatever you experienced in lab or whatever you learned. Okay. You then ask yourself, how does what I know, how does that, or how does my evidence prove or disprove this claim? And that's what you then add to your answer to get. Okay, final verb. Yay, final word. Let's go. Okay, last one is make a claim. Okay, and that is take a side and back it up. Okay, like I said, similar to the verb before, where we refuted, you know, or we, we before improved whatever it was. But this one, we're going to do what? We're going to make a statement. Okay, it's just like before. So we're going to have our claim or our statement. We're going to explain how evidence supports that statement. Okay, so this one is a bit different, in that um, our evidence is going to come straight from a graph, data table, something that they're going to give you. Okay, and also we'll talk more and we'll look at more, but just get used to, just a heads up, when we look at these graphs and these things that are involved in the questions, you're going to get used to seeing two graphs on the question. That's something that you may not have experienced prior to this class, but that's how we're going in AP exams or on the AP environmental exam at least. Often on those FRQs, you will see two graphs, and you will have to use both of those graphs or both of those visual, whatever they are, maps, etc., to answer one question. Okay, so here we go. Here is our evident or our example. Make a claim about which site has greater biodiversity using the data provided. Oh my God, there's a key right there. They're telling you use this data in your answer. Okay, so claim is site A has greater biodiversity. We somehow saw that from the graph or the data. Boom. Next sentence, we're then going to explain how that data shows that. They say the data shows that site A contains more species with a more even distribution of individuals. So that's simple. We got our claim, and our claim is from the data that we see on that question. And then we have our support or our connection to the evidence. And that is the sentence that is literally explaining from what we see in the bar graph, in the line graph, whatever we have, that's explaining in words what is presented in that graph that supports our claim. So that's what they're looking for on these things. On Friday, I have the mnemonic, so you can say make a claim, and you have your statement or your claim plus the evidence connection, however you want to remember and let me know that one. And that's how you'll get your points. And then we'll all get our 100 on our quizzes as long as we make sure we study. Keep in mind, too, it's not a rent information. It's not a get it and forget it. So beyond Friday, you're expected to still know these things. This video will be up. You have your notes. You'll have a handout as well that has all this that you can keep in your binder. Continue studying this because I will ask you randomly on bell ringers, exit tickets, you name it. It's fair game from here on out. So, anyway, good luck, and I know y'all will do great. You're going to study, and you're going to do your absolute best. All right.